Today on Monson Made This, we're making a California-style Thai tempeh pizza. So the pizza I'm going to be making today is inspired by California Pizza Kitchen's Thai Chicken Pizza. I've swapped out the chicken for tempeh, which I don't think I've used on this channel before. I'm going to be making a spicy peanut hoisin sauce using a store-bought pizza crust, some vegan mozzarella, and a bunch of veggies to go on top. So let's go ahead and make it. So I already have my oven preheating to 500 degrees. You want to do turn your oven on first so that it can come to temperature while you prepare everything else. I'm just opening up this package of tempeh. The tempeh has to cook for about 15 minutes. So I've just sliced a package in half and I'm popping out the halves into a pot of water. Just want it to barely cover the top of the tempeh. You don't really need that much water. All right, so I'm moving the tempeh over to the stove and I'm setting it to high heat because I want to bring it to a boil. And I'm just gonna put a lid on it for right now. Now, tempeh essentially is a fermented soybean loaf. It needs to cook to get a bitterness out of it. So I'm gonna turn this to a boil. As soon as it comes up to a boil, I'm gonna turn it down to low and let it go for 15 minutes. Again, this gets rid of the bitterness and this is gonna be the chicken component of our pizza. So I've laid out all the ingredients for the sauce. We have rice wine vinegar, ground ginger, vegetarian hoisin sauce, sesame oil, smooth peanut butter, some red pepper flake, some garlic, which I buy already chopped up, and some maple syrup. All right, so you need a half cup of peanut butter. I let this set at room temperature. Normally I keep this in the fridge, but this has been at room temperature for about 20 minutes, so it's nice and smooth and runny. Half cup of hoisin sauce. Tablespoon of maple syrup, 2 teaspoons of rice wine vinegar, about a teaspoon of ground ginger. I'm just going to eyeball this. I need 2 teaspoons of chopped garlic, and what I have remaining in this jar is just about that. 2 tablespoons of sesame oil, some red pepper flakes to taste. I like it spicy. And you need just about 2 teaspoons of water. I'm just using the garlic thing to do that. Stir it all together till it is combined. So the pizza is gonna cook with the sauce and cheese and tempeh on top, but there's also a bunch of fresh ingredients that are gonna go on top. So I'm just gonna chop and prep those up and get those ready to go. All right, so I'm gonna be using red onion today. Green onion is traditional. I actually forgot to get green onion at the store and I thought red onion sounded good. So I'm gonna be using red onion today. I'm just gonna remove the skin and then I'm just gonna slice this into little slivers so that I can sprinkle this on the top. Trying to get as thin as I possibly can. All right, so now I'm just going to roughly chop some cilantro. I don't want it to be finely minced because I want there to be some pretty big pieces to decorate the top of the pizza. And next I just want to chop up some peanuts for on top. And I'm just gonna roughly chop them so that they're in smaller pieces, but a few nice big chunks is good too. All right, that looks good to me. And the last topping is going to be this broccoli slaw. Traditionally, this is made with bean sprouts. It's one of the only foods in the world that I really don't like is bean sprouts. So I'm gonna be using broccoli slaw as the crunchy vegetation for the top. All right, so my oven's pretty much preheated. My tempeh cooked for 15 minutes. I've got all my toppings prepared. So I'm just gonna take the tempeh out and then start rolling the dough. A pound of dough makes 4 perfectly sized individual pizzas. I've divided that pound up into 4 equal balls, and I'm just gonna be covering them so they don't dry out as I roll out each individual dough. So this next step is the reason why I have this vegetable apron on. I'm gonna be rolling out the pizza dough. Now, I have my dough on parchment paper on a pizza peel. I just find by doing this all on the parchment paper, it just makes transferring things from the table or your counter to the oven so much easier. If you don't have parchment paper, you need something under it, maybe cornmeal or something to prevent things from sticking, but I do think parchment paper is definitely the best way to go. So let's roll. So this is the part of the process I'm probably least confident about. I find that I have difficulty getting it into a perfect circle, but it's homemade pizza, so it can be a little bit rustic. As you can see, the parchment just makes it a little bit easier to move things around. I can turn it as I try my best to get it into a circle. Again, it's supposed to be a little bit rustic, so don't be mad at yourself if it's imperfect. I've let this dough rest on the counter for probably about 20-25 minutes, just because if it comes directly out of the fridge, see how it's pulling back like that? It's even worse if it comes directly out of the fridge. So you want to let it rest, come to room temperature, and you have a little bit easier of a time trying to get this rolled out. So I'm just going to continue to work, trying to get this into a decent shape. And if it starts to stick to the rolling pin, add a bit more flour. All right, that's about as close to a circle as I'm going to be able to get it. As you can see, it's really thin. That's how I like it. It's probably about maybe 9 inches or so, which again is a perfect size for a personal pizza. So I forgot to slice my tempeh, and I'm gonna do that now, just into thin strips. You could crumble it. It actually crumbles up really nicely. And if you have any extra tempeh left over, this makes a really amazing chicken salad if you just crumble it up, add a bit of vegan mayo, perfect on sandwiches or lettuce wraps. So this is probably 8-inch thick, trying to get it as thin as I can. And this is our protein for the top of the pizza. You could use vegan chicken if you wanted. I just really like tempeh right now, so that's what I'm gonna be using as my protein. So I'm starting out by spooning a pretty generous portion of this sauce on top. This is most of the flavor of your pizza, and this is full of flavor, but you wanna make sure to be generous with this because this is what's gonna be guiding everything else, so don't be skimpy. For my cheese, I'm gonna be using this Trader Joe's vegan mozzarella. I really like this one for pizzas. It actually, I feel, has a bit of a parm flavor. It's got kind of a funkiness to it. I don't like to add a ton of vegan cheeses to my pizzas, but I think a little bit goes a long way, so I'm just gonna be adding this to the top. My tempeh, which is my protein, is going on the top of the cheese. The reason I'm putting this on top of the cheese is so that it can brown up just a little bit in the oven. How many? Let's add one more. All right, there's my protein. And I'm actually gonna add just a bit of red onion to the top in the oven so that I have 2 different textures of the red onion. I'll have the fresh raw on top and a little bit cooked in as well. All right, so that's what's gonna go in the oven. All right, so my oven's at a solid 500. I'm gonna put the pizza in here, and I have a pizza stone in the oven, so it's gonna help it brown on the bottom. Slides in nicely, and that's gonna cook for probably about 10-12 minutes. I'll let you know what the exact time is afterwards. I'm gonna turn the light on, gonna watch it. I think it's best to just tell when it's done by seeing it. You want it to be a little bit bubbly and brown around all of the edges. As I said, the dough makes 4 individual pizzas. Same with the sauce, the tempeh. You're gonna get 4 equal-sized pizzas out of that. You could easily swap out the ingredients. If somebody doesn't like the vegan cheese, don't add it. If somebody doesn't like the tempeh, don't add it. And if you're trying to feed a large group of people all at one time, I mean, have them share the individual pizzas, but while they're cooking is a really good time to make the next one. So I'm gonna start assembling the next one while this one bakes, and I'll see you when this comes out of the oven. All right, well, my pizza looks ready. It has been in there exactly 10 minutes, so I'm going to take this out. Parchment paper also helps with removing it. As you can see, nice and brown around the edges, nice and crispy. The tempeh is browned up a little bit, and the cheese has gotten a little bit crispy as well. So let's add our toppings. So you can add as much of this stuff on top as you'd like. So I'm starting with a nice layer of the broccoli slaw. Generous bit of cilantro because I really like this. Some people don't. If you don't like it, obviously leave it off. Red onion adds a nice bit of color. I would have maybe added a bit more carrot. I didn't realize that this broccoli slaw had so little carrot. It would have been nicer with some more orange color. And the last are the chopped peanuts. Go on top. And here you have my version of California Pizza Kitchen's Thai Tempeh pizza. Let's go ahead and slice into it so we can give it a taste. Beautiful. It's easier if you actually cut from the outside in as opposed to the inside out. Makes the ingredients stay on a little bit better, actually. A little uneven, but I'm ready to dig in. This smells so good, and I've been waiting so long to give this a taste, so here we go. Oh my God. It's so good. I feel like I sound like Lauren Toyota there. The flavors are spot on. I'm glad I added that extra bit of sauce on top because it really just makes everything come together. The tempeh kind of disappears, but that's what you want it to do. The chicken on a Thai chicken pizza doesn't really do much other than just be a little bit of texture, and that's exactly what the tempeh does on here. Having just that bit of cheese too, has that slight funkiness, the freshness of all the vegetables, cilantro, the crunchiness of the peanuts. Sorry if I'm a mess here, it's just so good. You definitely need to give this a try. I'm gonna finish this pizza. I'm gonna make the rest of them so I can share these around. And while I do that, why don't you watch the other videos? Subscribe, follow me on Instagram at monsonmadethis, and give this pizza a taste. It's so good.